Got a life problem? Danny Bonaduce is here to help. No problem is too big or too small. Call Danny the Life Coach at 1-800-252-1025.
Danny Bonaduce, Life Coach.
That's me, Danny Bonaduce, Life Coach. The phone number is 1-800-252-1025. Danny Bonaduce, Life Coach, brought to you every weekday at 7:30 by Goldberg Jones, Divorce for Men. Call 1-800-DIVORCE. And in studio answering your questions, you can call right now. We still have a couple lines open. Is the one and only Rick Jones. Hey.
Morning, guys.
How you been, man?
I've been terrific.
How was the Super Bowl?
Unbelievable.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely
Well,
unbelievable.
really? Like it might not have been. Really? Is your life changed forever?
Well, maybe not, but it was still pretty cool.
Did you see any celebrities?
The ones we talked about, and then, of course, a little while later, Steven Tyler sighting, which is, man, he's looking old.
Yeah, he is.
Have you seen his new look? It's kind of like the pirate look.
He's been looking, yes.
Arg.
He's been looking old since he was 32, though. It's just a
True
tough
enough.
lifestyle. That
True enough.
So that's awesome that you got to go.
Absolutely.
And I guess now we will take your phone calls. So we've, like we said, Rick Jones from 1-800-DIVORCE. If you have a question concerning divorce, marriage, that kind of thing, be a good time to call. Let's go to Olivia in Tacoma. Good morning, Olivia. How the hell are you?
I'm good. So I have a question. I feel kind of conflicted. I come from a broken home, and I felt that my mom, much like your ex-wife, kind of tried to keep me away from my father. But I find myself in the same situation with my daughter. Her dad has a drinking problem, bad enough for us to actually leave another state and come to Washington. And I don't have any type of custody agreement in place, and I'm wondering what steps I can take to protect my daughter from him being able to come and just kind of take her away.
All right, so your question is, I'm not married. I don't have an order of custody or anything like that. I split with my kid because I don't like what the dad is up to, and you may be right about that. Am I in any kind of trouble? Is that your question for Rick Jones of Goldberg?
Yes.
Jones? Right?
Yeah, well, let me jump in. You're not in any kind of trouble because there's no law that you violated. How long have you been here, though, in Washington?
For almost 3 months.
Okay. What happens, there's a word called jurisdiction, which defines what state has the power to make rulings regarding custody, and that is vested in the home state, and a home state is created wherever the child has been for the last 6 consecutive months. So in another 3 months, Washington now has jurisdiction over whatever state you left, and that means you can file to create a parenting plan here in Washington that defines what custodial rights you have as the primary parent, what custodial rights he has, and any restrictions that may need to be put in place. So hang out for a few more months and you're good.
Oh, that's awesome, because I might have led you down the wrong avenue on that one. I thought you were in trouble. I didn't do anything wrong but kidnapping, but no, in a little while, the state of Washington will take over custody, if you will, of the case.
Yeah, because they look at it, they have the ability or the right to create and assist their citizens. And she becomes a resident and a citizen, and the home state becomes vested in Washington.
All right, so like Rick Jones said, just hang in the fine state of Washington for a little while.
This is Danny Bonaduce, Life Coach, with a special appearance by Rick Jones from Goldberg Jones, 1-800-DIVORCE. So if you've got a question, now is the time to call 800-252-1025. And the next caller is Joe in Puyallup.
Hey, Joe.
Good morning.
What do you got for us there, Joe?
Well, I have a child support order where it states that the dad is supposed to pay a certain portion of extracurricular activities. And then I have a parenting plan where it says I can sign her up for activities as long as it's nothing crazy or super expensive or takes any or infringes on his time.
So, Joe, let me ask you, do you really mean by activities, dance lessons, baton twirling, like things you could do that are considered after-school activities?
Correct.
Wow, I didn't know you could get that. That's cool. That got rich.
Well, the uncool question is, he has agreed that I can sign her up for the YMCA, which is not the crazy expensive. It's $36 a month. But he said he doesn't have the money to pay because his other kids are in too many activities and he doesn't have the money for her. So he's like, you can sign her up, but I'm not paying.
All right, so the question is...
I'm wondering if, because there's a child support order that says he has to pay a certain portion of extracurricular activities, if that's, like, can I just say, well, I'm signing her up and you're paying your $20 a month?
Well, I'm going to jump in on this one and say the answer is yes, you can go ahead and sign her up and expect to get paid, but he also has every ability to choose not to. Somebody doesn't have to comply with the law. The question is whether or not you're going to enforce it if he doesn't.
And is she, I mean, I'll ask you as an expert, so she signs, because she said you're $20 a month or whatever it is she going to go to court for $20?
You read my mind. That's exactly where I'm headed. So $20 is what, $240 a year. And that's going to be less than 1 hour of an attorney time to be able to try and enforce that. So it really is sort of up to you. If you can't afford the full freight on this, I wouldn't recommend doing it. If you can, then go for it. Send him a letter. Maybe even have an attorney send him a letter, and perhaps that scares him into compliance.
I've always often thought that. Do people come to you sometimes and ask you to send a letter just so it's on your letterhead? Like they hope not to have a lawyer at all. They just want to pay you for 1 hour or whatever it is to have, my name is Attorney at Law Rick Jones, and you should do this, and it's on the official letterhead.
Yeah, we do occasionally get that request. At the same time, unfortunately, as an attorney, once you throw your name out there, once you describe a potential course of action, you are somewhat on the hook. You're now in a representative capacity. So for the most part, we avoid such a kind of a piecemeal representation.
Okay, thanks.
If you've got a question for the life coach this morning, 800-252-1025. And if you've got a question about divorce or custody, any of that sort of stuff, Rick Jones from Goldberg Jones is here in studio. So today is a great day to call with those sorts of questions, 800-252-1025. Chris in Everett, you're on.
Hi there.
Hey, Chris.
So, my boyfriend and I, we've lived together for 20 years, or 18 years, 19 years. I pay half of the household bills. He owned the house, or he was in the process of buying the house, and we've now paid that off for about 10 years before I moved in. Now, I know there is no, what is it?
Common law marriage?
Common law marriage in this state. However, for almost 20 years, I have put forth half of everything, and I have receipts for everything to prove it. And now we're in the process of this ugly breakup. And we have functioned as a couple, raised our kids as a couple, sent them all off on their own. What are my options now? Or am I going to have to get a lawyer and take him to court because we're not legally married?
But whatever decision is, because I didn't follow, thank God Rick is here, but whatever decision you're making, your boyfriend, if you will, is against. He thinks you're doing the wrong thing, and you're wondering if you have to go to court, or even if you can go to court because you were never married. Is that right?
Yeah, because, I don't want 50% of what he had before I came along. I just feel like I deserve 50% of what we've acquired since I've come along, and part of that has been a good chunk of this house.
All right, that's interesting, and let's see if Rick Jones of Goldberg Jones agrees with you.
Yeah, well, you do have an avenue, actually. It's called a meretricious relationship action. So,
just say that word to him and he'll be scared.
So, for lack of a better phrase, you're saying this was so much like a marriage that some of the same benefits, if you will, if you want to call that of marriage, should apply. So exactly the same common sense that you're applying. Now, obviously, his side of the story is that both of you arguably knew what being married would be, and you still chose not to. The flip side, though, is the court, when they're looking at this, they apply a many-factored test to look at whether or not they think it is meretricious, whether it qualifies for this protection. And the fact that it's been somewhere in the 18 to 20-year range, the fact that the two of you have raised children together, I'm guessing you probably commingled some funds here and there as well. You've got a really strong case for a meretricious viewing of this.
So and she brought it up that I don't think we have, a bunch of the country does not have the common law marriage thing anymore. After 7 years, you're considered married. But she's just got they were, for all intents and purposes, married.
That's right.
All right. Excellent. I hope that works out for you.
Good luck. This is Danny Bonaduce, life coach, with special guest Rick Jones from Goldberg Jones, 1-800-DIVORCE. If you've got a question, 800-252-1025. Chuck in Port Orchard, you're up next.
Okay.
Hey, Chuck.
Hey, so my question is that my wife and I have been married 8 years. Today, I consider our daughter is 10, and she actually had her with another person. Never been in her life, and I've always wanted to adopt her. We sent paperwork, and never got anything back. We spent like $500 to draw up this paperwork, and we never got
paperwork to adopt your stepdaughter or whatever she would be to you?
Yeah, we sent it to him to relinquish all rights, so I could
okay.
adopt him.
And what's your question then for Rick Jones?
What would be my next course of action? Because, I mean, she is my daughter. I've done everything for her. And
I believe you, Chuck, and I just wasn't sure what the paper was. So you sent it to him and saying, hey, you don't do anything anyway. What it would cost you, please relinquish your rights as a father. And although you did the right thing, he has ignored it. So you would like Rick Jones to tell you what the best next step is, I'm assuming, Rick?
Yeah.
Well, first question is, how's your relationship going right now?
With my wife or my daughter?
With your wife.
It's great. Happily married.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in terms of pursuing the adoption, you've already reached out in a way that you can. Are you able to find him and he's just not answering, or are you not able to find him?
He stays under the radar. Like, he doesn't pay child support. He's nowhere. He's like, we
right,
don't know
but I think what Rick's saying is, do you know he's there? Is there a chance you just sent it to the wrong address? He's been gone a decade.
No, we sent it, and we had the where it was a receipt, and we received the receipt, and he got it.
Okay. So I think there's probably something to do, right?
Yeah, not necessarily, because he certainly there's no requirement that a father give up his rights and give away his child for adoption. He certainly still has a child support arrearage that continues to accrue, and that's not going to stop. So that's your really one area of leverage, is to be able to negotiate with that, because obviously child support stops if you were to be able to adopt. But
the guy's never paid a penny in support.
Yeah, well, I mean, the way to try and go about this, the end game, obviously, we know what you want, which is the ability to adopt and have that certainty. What you need to do in terms of the first chess move is create a leverage on your side that creates a reason why he wants to come to the table. And that's really to try and find him in a child support collection action.
Oh, okay. So, of course, he doesn't want to give up the money, so go after it. All right, that makes perfect sense. So prove that he owes it, and in a sense, he's in arrears. All of a sudden, he's kind of in trouble unless you say, hey, forget it. But by the way, could you sign this paper?
That's right.
So go after him for child support that doesn't exist and make it exist, which you can do. It's a minor child, only 10 years old.
Well, my understanding is that the child support does exist. He just hasn't been
Doesn't
paying.
pay it, even better, right?
Yeah, so right now, no doubt, he's probably, if a 10-year-old child, he's probably got a $40,000, $50,000 obligation that's out there as a debt. So if you can get the state, whichever state is doing a collection, get them on board with you, go after him.
All right. Thank you to Rick Jones, and thanks to Chuck for calling in.
All right. Rick Jones from Goldberg Jones, divorce specialist, is here with Danny Bonaduce, life coach.
Got a life problem? Danny Bonaduce is here to help. No problem is too big or too small. Call Danny the life coach at 1-800-252-1025.